Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I am Coach Everardo Resendez. I am a certified executive and business coach with Action Coach in Northwest Louisiana. Today, I have Chuck Breaux, is the owner and CEO of Assurance AV Solutions as my guest, and we're going to be talking about his business, the journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it really is like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. And so, Chuck, without further ado, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Coach.
Well, will you share with us a little background for yourself and tell us a little bit about Assurance AV Solution?
We're primarily commercial AV. Uh, we, our our main focus is houses of worship. That kind of goes with my backstory on how I got to where I am today. But we've merged into other spaces like educational, K through 12, universities. Uh, you know, man, we're starting to do like fitness centers. We also do like high executive conference rooms. We've done hospitality, whether it be like hotels, restaurants, even event centers where you need to have a big meeting or like a wedding reception. I mean, there's just so many different things that uh, we've been a part of.
Love it. And so, Chuck, how did you get into this business in the first place?
Whew. Um, yeah, I can't tell you the first time, but I've always been attracted to electronics. My dad, my parents really like, I didn't grow up in a quiet house. My dad used to play drums, and then my dad was he was in the service. He was in Vietnam in the Navy on an aircraft carrier, and he's almost totally deaf. I'm not sure if it's his left or right ear. Um, so growing up, everything was what, huh, and um, loves classic rock music, and my mom is a big fan of like the Beatles, classical opera. So I just remembered, being a kid and in the living room, and my dad had this massive stereo, and it had these meters. And if you look at my logo, that's that's a VU meter. So like you
That's
probably
right.
remember old school stereo stuff, those things moving. That's exactly what that is. Some people, is that an eyelash? No, it's not an eyelash. But that's what I remember. Like, you dim the lights in the living room, you crank, you put a record on the record player, you turn it up, and there'd be like an amber glow behind those things, and they're just like doom, doom, um, that has left a lasting impression on me. And so growing up and me becoming a musician and gravitating towards drums, my dad was the coolest because I could play as loud as I want. It didn't bother him, right? So my friends would come over and jam. Um, and I got into car audio. My dad, jack of all trades, um, did a lot of home improvement stuff. So I always had access to like power tools. And, where Home Depot used to be close to where he lived, it was in the same parking lot as Toys R Us. And he would, we'd pull up in the parking lot. Hey, Chuck, I'm going to go inside, and you want to go to Toys R Us for a little bit? And I'm like, no, no, no. I want to go look at tools, man. Like, last week you let me use so scrap from jobs. I started building speaker boxes, and because of his hard of hearing, like, his truck had to have a decent sound system. So I had to learn how to do car audio stuff to make it louder for him. And then my friends figured out that we kind of knew what we were doing. And, it's not like we almost set a car on fire, but that kind of happened one time. But it went into that. And then it went into me having like a homemade Frankenstein big stereo system in my bedroom. Let me take that to my friends' parties in junior high, and let me set that up. And I became a DJ. Going back to the band thing, and the car audio thing, then it naturally gravitated towards pro audio. And there's a story about how I used to go to this place for open mic night, and there was a guy there that he put a sound system in. He would just leave it, but he wanted to go back to school, and he couldn't be there all the time. And so my best friend, who was the bass player in my band, he approached us, and he's like, "Y'all want to learn how to babysit this thing for me? I'll throw you some bones for that." And I kind of got more interested, and that's kind of where I got started. And then I fell in love with it. I still to this day, like I said, I'm so blessed to be able to do what I do with the people I get to do it with. Not everybody gets to turn their passion into their career, right? And so it's just, I mean, and I try not to take that for granted. But going back to the kid on Christmas morning, you bring me into a room where you have problems, and I could start like the Matrix. I could just start visioning, drawing lines. This could go here, that could go there. We can reuse this and save you some money with that. And man, when you like turn that on, it is just going to be so much better because we can walk into rooms 90% of the time and just look at placement of things. And you don't even have to tell me. I can tell you what your problems are, right? And like there's a science to it. It is physics.
But I love the
Hold me
energy.
down, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just set the stage for the viewers, the listeners. What does the current ownership look like? I mean, are you the sole owner, founder? Are there any outside investors in this endeavor of yours?
No, I mean, you can't, we're not on the stock market or anything like that. It's a small company. Right now, there's a total of 5 employees, and that includes me and my wife. We're currently seeking to bring on another technician. Um, my wife and I are very much yin and yang. I started this business 10 years ago in my garage. And probably about 3.5 years ago, give or take, my wife came on board. And it was supposed to be a part-time thing for her, give her some flexibility. She's always been my soundboard forever, but it was just like, oh, just be, 2, 3 days a week and you'll have some flexibility. And she has taken it by the reins, and like it's definitely a full-time thing for us. We're constantly working on that work-life balance where we go home and we try not to talk about work. That is a big challenge for me because again, I love what I do, and the hamster wheels are constantly spinning, but I'm getting better at like turning that off and creating some boundaries. But she's very much a part. So where that's she helps out a lot on the operations end. I'm the sales force of the company right now. Um, and then I have 2 technicians. One has been working with me since the business started. Even before then, I had a previous AV company with a business partner, and he was a integral part of that too. So having him around, and he's in a hybrid role where he assists on designs. Um, but when it comes to finding a solution, there's no dictatorship. Everybody here gets buy-in. So I'll bring in the tech team, and we'll just brainstorm. Like, here's what I'm thinking. How would you approach this? Um, you have an open door policy. Basically, like if you have an idea that you think is better, let's talk about it. Because I never want to be the guy that gives off the ego or the mojo that my way or the highway.
Right.
Very much a part of everybody here takes ownership, and even with my wife and our office coordinator, they might not be the most technical people when it comes to this stuff, but if we have the opportunity, we'll bring them in at the end of a project, and like the office coordinator that's receiving all the equipment as the project is going through procurement and all that stuff. Now she's getting to see like, okay, these 50 boxes that came in with all these pieces and parts. Now I understand when I walk into the room, that's what that does. And it's like, oh,
Gotcha.
right.
Love it.
To add a little bit more to that, coach, we built a lab, and that it became really clear about 2 years ago that some technicians are stronger in areas than others, which is great because there's really good synergy. You have like a super tech when you put them two together on a project that we can handle anything. But the idea is to break them off and build other teams in the future, right? And so where one is weak, the other one's stronger. And we realize that when we sell certain products, a lot of times we're only using that product to do a few functions. This thing might do 30 things and we're only doing 5. We don't have the time to on the job site to figure out like we never pushed this button before. Let's see what happens. But let's do it in the lab, and that is really, I mean, just this week, we're able to emulate situations that sometimes, like, why is that happening? And instead of going on to the job site and holding up progress or whatever, like try this, try that, we have the gear here and we can try it here and we can figure it out.
Sounds like you're consistently or constantly training your people into the new technologies, the things that you're capable of doing. And I love the idea of the field trips. In so many cases, we tend to encase that operational part away from everything else that we do,
Right.
and it doesn't really build for them the image of the capabilities that you have. So that is
Sure.
a brilliant idea. I love
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And so
this,
tell
I
me,
mean,
tell me a little bit about. I'm sorry, to interrupt, but
no,
tell me a little bit about the primary customer you're serving. Like, if I'm in the audience, how do I know I'm a good fit?
okay. Churches, I mean, that's really the bulk of who we support. It's a big part of my passion because I came from working at one of the largest churches in the area, and we would get phone calls, but we also, like, being one of the largest churches in the area, we would host all kind of different events. So you might have another church that would call and say, "Hey, I was at your event last week and was really curious on how you did this." So invite them over and kind of show them, but they don't have the means to that gear, or they're thinking about this, but they need that. And so I would just, on my days off, I would go visit them and just like assess the gear that they have. And I'm like, actually, you could do this. You don't have to buy everything that we have at my church, but you just need this box, and if we connect this box to this, you can emulate that same thing, and I can show you how to do that. And it turned into more and more and more. And what I also had to realize is that I was a technical director at a large church, and just off of memory, I want to say, like, on Sunday mornings there was probably five, maybe more, AV systems running at full throttle. So you got a youth building, you got the worship center, you've got uh, Bible study classrooms that are using AV because, like, the content is online and they have a flat screen TV in the classroom and they're using a clicker of PowerPoint presentations, um, and all that needs to run smoothly, right? But I'm the guy that supposedly knows the most, but I also have to have volunteers. I can't be running the light board, the video switcher, the soundboard, operating PowerPoint, managing cameras. You have to have a team, and then but I had to figure out how to be a better communicator to help them grow in confidence. Going back to the church thing, right? And really hitting on the investment that we made as a business on this lab. This is a video controller that, if I can get it in the camera, if it's gonna gray it out, I don't know. There we go.
You can see
So
it now.
yeah, a lot of buttons, right? And so we're teaching the volunteer, just focus on these three buttons and this lever, and don't worry about anything else. Said most churches that we serve, they're going to be, you know, 200, 300 seaters at most. They're not mega churches. They're your average size church in your community, and a lot of that is driven by volunteers, and most volunteers have jobs. So for them to be there at the end, 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, we just installed this new video system. My team has just a little bit of time to show you a crash course on how to use the stuff. But it's not like the church calls us on Monday and we're there Tuesday installing the gear. There's a whole time that has to take place with procurement, ordering, scheduling. We bench test everything. So we on the other side of this lab is a room that has two big tables where the technicians can assemble and test things out. So the idea now is that, let me bring you in before we install this equipment in your church. Let me show you what these three buttons do, but let me show you what these other four buttons do. Like, if you get the grasp of the three, so you're not walking in Friday afternoon and it's like totally foreign and you feel like you're at mission control at NASA, right?
Yeah.
And you just see all these buttons and you're like, oh my gosh. And it's like, no, it's cool. Just take a breather and let's just focus on this. And so it's all about building confidence. We are 100% all about relationships. This business would not be where it is today if it wasn't for the referrals from our clients and the repeat business that we get from our clients. I mean, we're totally blessed to have that and to be able to help and grow their team and confidence by getting ahead and just making the experience even better. That's what I want to do. Like I want to knock it out the park, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's outstanding. Let me ask you this, Chuck. How far out do you go? I mean, you're in the Baton Rouge area.
Yeah, we're actually in Mandeville, but Baton Rouge is like an hour away. We actually just wrapped up a job last week in Baton Rouge, and we'll be in that neck of the woods, I think, next week. So, um, really, it's the Gulf South, but we've done some jobs in Texas. We did a job in Florida a while ago. It just has to make sense. It's mainly Louisiana, Mississippi. We can do Alabama, but like just the Gulf states, right? That's
Gotcha.
practically, yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll
Gotcha.
go
Gotcha.
anywhere.
Well,
Yeah.
let me then ask you this very interesting question. You know, you have done this work um for some time now, right? You've developed a culture within your organization that you're trying to nurture and maintain. Um, but you know, the marketplace doesn't know everything about business. They just know that you have the ability to do a certain thing. But what's one thing that you wish more people knew about assurance saving solutions?
Um, I would say, I mean, it's not just about us as assurance, but like we really care. I am I am not there's a stereotype about sales guys, especially the used car salesman, right? They're just like, oh yeah, it'll get in there and take it home and sign the. I would rather walk into your facility and if you don't need to buy anything, sometimes it just needs to be tweaked. Like again, the thing you're trying to do might be this other button on this board that exists, but you've never touched it before. Um, so it's about education. It's about integrity. It's about building trust. And then if you do need something to get the where you want to get to, we'll make that recommendation. But I don't want to be. I should say we, but we're built on integrity and trust, and I believe that's why we are where we are today with the repeat business, with the relationships. I mean, coach, some of these clients, we have a key to their building, right? Like we've got an alarm code. Like if I want to go show somebody what we did at ABC Church down the road, I literally it's not even a question. Just give them a call ahead. But that's the kind of relationships that like I want to have that with everybody. Like we want to be your go-to. When you think AV, you think of us, right? But at the same time, I think it comes with anybody in business that is doing with integrity that to build that loyalty keeps that company around, right? I wish more consumers would understand that local businesses, the only way we survive is by customers. And yes, I might be a little bit more expensive than the guy that has one truck and no overhead, and he doesn't have a brick and mortar location. He doesn't have a lab. He doesn't have loaner equipment when your stuff breaks down. All that takes investment and all that comes with a price. But that's all for the long term to serve you better. And why not partner with a company that is here for you today, but that you want them to be here for the next 5 years? So when you need that service, when you need to grow, it's easy to pick up because a lot of what we do is electronic Legos. We're going to build you a great foundation. You need to grow, we add a box, we add a
Right.
thing, not a problem, right? We don't come in and we have to take everything all the way out and start all over again. That's not in our design. We're always building for the future and we always want to make it modular. We're not the cheapest, and I know that, and I will tell you that up front, but we're trying to be the best that we can to support you in the best way possible. And that takes resources and it takes investing. So you invest in us, we're going to invest in trying to be the best for you by continuing to grow our team and just be awesome, right? That's the goal.
Love it, love it, love it, Chuck. Well, let me ask you these. With the pandemic, a lot of what we do in person has shifted into more electronic communications.
Correct.
hence the podcast and all these things. One thing that perhaps we have seen as an opportunity is the ability to hold hybrid meetings where you have a certain group of people that are present in a room, and then you have people that are online. And normally, what happens is, those who are online are not paid enough attention to, or vice versa, right? So, is there a solution that encompasses, being able to almost have these yeah, presence as if we were all in the same room?
That's the goal, right? Just to touch on that. So if you're a church and you want to do live streaming, and there's some similarities here, right? People that are going to look at your church might be moving into your community. Uh, for lack of a better word to describe, they're shopping for a church to go visit, right? And maybe they haven't moved into the neighborhood yet, but they want to visit this church. So they're gonna chime in microphones in the room. Whoever's presenting, or even when they're doing worship music, as the congregation is singing along, you want it to feel like they're in the room. So we put ambient mics in there, and that gets blended into the audio feed. So when the pastor tells a joke and people laugh, you hear the people laughing, right? Or like, because if we didn't have that, it would just be crickets. It would
Yes.
feel really, really weird, right? So in the same sense, when we're doing whether it be a training room or executive conference room or huddle spaces, the whole idea is to make both, whatever it could be, two groups of people or two individuals that are like you and I meeting right now, or they could be multiple different locations calling in. Um, so the COVID made a lot of things happen really fast. And it kind of forced the AV industry to come up with solutions rather quickly because number one, things weren't available during COVID. You kind of had to like piecemeal and Frankenstein stuff together. And once we got back to whatever the new normal is, new equipment started becoming available that took care of some of the pains from COVID. So now they're sealing microphones. I don't have one in here, but it looks like a ceiling tile, or it looks round like an in ceiling speaker. But there could be anywhere from 10 to 20 plus microphones in there that automatically has the intelligence that when this person in this part of the room is talking, it turns that mic on and it turns everything else off. Um, you can do priority zones. So if you're presenting or someone's standing in front of the whiteboard, that person always gets priority. There could be an area in the back of the room where they're serving beverages. Just think like water and tea, and people are stirring sugar and making noises. With we can tell it to ignore all of that. Your AC system could kick on, and all of a sudden, whoosh, coming out the
Right.
vents, we can tell it to ignore that. So by eliminating a lot of the distractions, right? And the big thing right now with conference rooms and stuff is tracking. So
Yes.
you can call it AI, but having anywhere from 2 to 3 cameras in the room that can follow automatically the speaker and can automatically do the video switching to where I'm presenting in a room. I have 30 people attending, but somebody in the group of 30 raises their hand, asks a question. That camera's automatically going to switch and catch that person. I start talking, it goes back to me, right? Um, but it does it in a way that it's not so fast that you get motion sickness, right? It's subtle and smooth, and it is getting better and better and better. So,
Well, I'm even thinking of, town hall meetings where, people are trying to speak,
absolutely,
and it's just, it's crazy. Do you recall any of these situations that perhaps make you rethink, make you step back for a minute and say, why did I get into these in the first place?
yeah.
Do you recall any of those?
Yeah, so I'm trying to organize my ADHD brain for a moment, affirmations, if you don't do them, you should, like get into a daily devotional. Find somebody that can pour into you with the intent that you're going to pay that forward one day, right? um, but there's one of my affirmations is I am always in the right place at the right time, engaged in the right activity, right? And um, we could talk about God's provision because if you're a believer and you pray and you ask for guidance or you really want something to happen and you pray for it and it doesn't, and when it doesn't, when you come to the point to where that's not happening, you start questioning why, and you might not get that answer for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing using my God-given talents, if you will, without trying to sound, to help people. Like that's, I just want to help people. But when you start a business, um, I don't think there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs out there that they started their first company and it was a home run. I mean, you're gonna have failures, and you have to you have to embrace that. I mean, it's experience. So, um, I mentioned earlier that I had an AV company with a former business partner. It got to a point where we just didn't see eye to eye, and I decided to leave. And it left a bad taste in my mouth that I don't want to have anything to do with business ownership. I just want to go work for another AV company and do sales. And I thought that was going to work out, and then I quickly realized that their methods of doing things and my methods of doing things, it just didn't work. So it's December of 2015. Christmas is around the corner. I'm married. I've got 3 kids, and broker than broke. I mean, yeah. So, um, my wife did not appreciate that at all, and um, it makes you feel some kind of way as trying to be the provider. And I was just trying to figure things out. Like, I left a business that I was a part owner of, thinking that I was going to something better, and I'm probably no better off than I thought I was going to be. And like, what am I going to do now? And I didn't want to go work at Home Depot or Sam's or just go get a job. Just go flip pancakes at Waffle. I I want to do this, but I need to figure this out. And I got on the phone with somebody or something. Just something came to my mind that let's start a company. Let's just start an AV company. And I remember my parents, like my dad his own business for a long time, and it was always ingrained that when you start a business, you want to start it with an A, B, or C because it's one of the first companies that'll be found in the phone book. Like, who uses a
Right?
phone book, right? But uh, I came up with a few names, and I went to go see if they were taken, and they were taken, and then Assurance AV. So here I go online, and I go to LegalZoom.com, and boom, an hour later or so, I've got an LLC. Great, I started a company. I have nothing. Um, that was probably one of the hardest Christmases ever that I can ever remember. And about the first or second week of January of 2016, I got a phone call from a church that I visited months ago, and they wanted to do this massive video project. And a lot of this happens a lot with churches. You go in, they want to do something, and they have to raise the funds. But, you know, I have a saying that you can't make good decisions without good information. In order for them to even ask to do a capital campaign, or maybe somebody in the church is willing to donate the money, how much do you need? Well, I don't know. We need a new sound system. Is that $20,000 or $80,000? So, well, I'll go in and I'll give them a budget. I'll give them a number so they at least they have some solid real numbers. So with this church, that's kind of what happened. But at the time when I presented that to them, they didn't have the means to do it. So I get this phone call like the first or second week of January. They're ready, and they're like, Chuck, can you do it? And I'm like, I didn't even blink. Of course I can do it, right? Coach, I don't have anybody. I don't have employees, and quickly had to figure out like how many people do I need? How we're gonna put this together? We absolutely killed it. We did it. We did it in 2 phases. We did it over 2 weeks. Could not have gone better. And the little bit of money that was left over in profit from that job helped me keep afloat for a couple of weeks of being able to pay the bills and stuff and put food on the table, and almost kind of bankroll, if you will, like my own line of credit, right, for the next job. And then the next job comes. And, you just start to build a little bit of momentum. Now, I'm working out of my house, out of my garage. Like I said, my 2-car garage are kind of converted into my office. I don't really have any overhead. I don't have an office or anything like that. So things were cheap. I didn't have company vehicles or anything like that. And as things grew, that grew with it. But we've also had some really hard. 2023 was a year I just want to forget about. We made a lot of changes in 2022, thinking that, forecasting that these big projects were going to come through and we're going to need this and this and this. Well, let's go ahead and get this and this and this ready now and get those teams lined up. And then it didn't come, right? Like the jobs just didn't happen for one reason or another. They got delayed. And now I've got this massive workforce and I've got to pay them, and I've got a brick and mortar building, and I've got commercial vehicles, and the cash ain't coming, and you got to make some decisions, right? So it it takes a lot of grit to get through this, and I highly, highly recommend getting a coach. Like, they are invaluable. If start talking to one, and like, when I was very early, when I started this company, I got invited to a Brad Sugars event, and there's a couple of things he said, but like after that event, the local action coach guy that sponsored it, he met with me and he told me at that time, like, hey, you're not really ready for me. Check back with me in like a year or two. And but he's the one that encouraged me to like, who invited you? And then found out that some of his clients, he's like, talk to those guys, like take them out for coffee or whatever, and start picking their brains. And
You got
I
to be
did that.
around the right kind of people to get your mind
Yeah,
right.
absolutely, man. Like, you absolutely are going to be influenced by the people that are around you. And if you know people that are in like-minded businesses that are successful, that have been there for a while, I can promise you they've been where you've been to start out. When, when it rains, it pours. When, what are we going to do? Am I going to have to sell a kidney to pay rent this month? You know, they've been there and done that. And like, most of them are more than happy to just share the info. Right.
That's right.
And that's,
It's that
gotten to a
collective
place with that.
experience that you can actually
Absolutely,
leverage for your
man.
own benefit.
And you cannot do this alone. You have to have people, and the coaching thing is, it's really, it's just, again, like, we wouldn't be there, we wouldn't be where we are. And I don't want to try to create this false narrative that we're this massive company. Like I said, we're really small. We take on really big projects, but we're a really small company. And it's through the coaching that we've gone through that has helped us navigate on, when should you do this? But, there's no neon sign that drops out of the sky that says, do this now. Like, now is the time. It's all faith, but there, there's faith, but there's also predictability. If once you start
Right.
building systems and processes, you can start looking at things, you can start measuring things, you can start figuring out what's best for you guys to work on and what isn't, right? Yeah.
That's a very interesting point because a lot of people think that they need to get a coach when they're in trouble, and it's not wrong. That perception
No.
does need to occur, but it really is more when you know that there is potential. You can see that future almost, but you don't know how to get to it.
Right.
It's like you're hitting a ceiling every single
Exactly.
time. And to get through, that's when you need that outside perspective. So thank you for that, Chuck. I mean, this is what we do, and we're really, really blessed to have the ability to influence and impact people just like you. But let's go back to the conversation,
Yeah.
right? I want to talk about your future. Where does Assurance AV Solutions go now? Or what's the next 3 to 5 years looking like for you?
It's interesting. We're still doing churches. We're at a church today. I think that's just a big part of who we are. But uh, recently, we've gotten the fitness studios. So uh, I'm I'm not, I just joined a gym a few weeks ago, but like, this particular client has a spin class and like an auxiliary room and stuff. And I'm thinking she just wants to play some music and talk on the microphone. No, man, like you go to one of those classes and it is like she wants it to feel like you're at a nightclub. So it, I mean, just big
There's
slamming sounds.
excitement in the air. You want to make
Oh,
sure that it's a great experience.
exactly right. And like she's on the mic, all right, give me five more, push, push, push. And then the lights are flashing. It's no different than going to a nightclub in the French Quarter. The only thing is you're on a bike, right? But
Right.
she wants to make it, and that's a big part of what she's about. Anybody can do a spin class, but you can't get this experience anywhere else. And how does she get that experience? Through the use of AV, by controlling the mood of the lights in the room, by controlling the volume of the music, the way she's playing it, by controlling how loud her voice is. Because at the end of the class, when you're cooling down, you don't need the drill sergeant yelling at you to give you 20 more push-ups. It's like, breathe, right?
Yes.
Relax, you're on an island in Maui and, la, 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 all that stuff. But like, that's all AV stuff. And I never thought in a million years that we would be getting into that, but it kind of just happened. And I think it's really, really cool.
So it's
It,
opening up a number of opportunities for you
yeah, yeah.
also.
But the hospitality business, like the conference room stuff that really took off during COVID, not to toot our own horn, but like I feel like we do a really good job of helping businesses connect with their internal groups and their outside clientele with the use of technology by making it simple. Our slogan is experience the power of simplicity. Technology can be extremely powerful and it can be extremely complex. And if anybody has had any kind of system that was put together by, I call them Bob. Bob has great intentions. Bob might be in a band or might be really good with IT and watched a couple of YouTube videos and convinced the owner of the company or the church pastor to go and buy this and this and this from Amazon or online stores or the local music shop. And Bob hooks it up. Bob's the only one that knows how to make it work. And Bob gets transferred to California and it's not done to
Now we're in
like
trouble.
stand.
Yeah. Now
Exactly
we're in
right.
trouble.
There's no SOP. There's no train. Like I don't know what he did. I mean, I know what I would do if I had that, but basically, yeah. And so it's so good. I'm gonna say for me, one of the telltale signs that we've done our job is when we leave, the phone doesn't ring. We're not getting a phone call 2 weeks, a week later. Hey, we had a problem with the sound system. Hey, we had a problem
I
with the
love, love, love that indicator. That's an
right.
excellent indicator.
That's and we try to do follow-ups just to like, you guys still alive? I haven't heard from you in like 2 years. Oh man, it's been great. Blah 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 blah. We need to talk to you about doing this. We also now have the capability of monitoring your systems remotely, right? And that's a whole nother thing that opened up with COVID and all of that. Just again, trying to provide better services to our clients, help them maximize the most out of their investment. But to continue on to the future, I want us to get more involved in the community. I want us to get in front of some young like high school kids and let them know that this is an exciting industry, that you can make a career out of this, and it's a lot of fun. No job is the same, right? And like if it's challenging, you got to work with people and you got to deal with personalities and you got to figure out, my way isn't the my way of turning on a room might be different than somebody else whose brain thinks differently and have to get inside their head and figure all that out. But it's very rewarding.
I love it. I love it. Well, we certainly have covered a lot of ground in this conversation today. And for those people who are watching, I highly encourage you to save these and come back a few times. Great nuggets here. So let's make sure that you do save these, okay? And as we begin to wrap up, Chuck, I have a few rapid fire questions, okay?
Fire away.
Quick, couple of answers for each, okay? So
Okay.
number one, what is the key to success for you?
Whew. Making a plan and sticking to it, right? But don't be afraid to massage it every now and then and tweak it. because your roadmap might say you're going here and your GPS says you should arrive to that destination by this date. Some things happen. You might get a flat tire along the way, but still keep your eye on if this is where you're going and that's your goal, stick with the plan.
What would be your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Hang in there. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
That's right. It isn't.
But yeah, but if you're providing a service or a product and you're really just trying to do something with integrity, it will go. It will take. It might not go at the speed you want it to go, but it should go.
I love it. I love it. Wait, so what is one book you're reading now or you have read recently that you think everybody should get their hands on?
I think it's Time Management Secrets, 15 Time Management Secrets of Highly Successful People. Uh, the guy that wrote the book interviewed like a bunch of millionaire billionaires and asked them, how did you stay on track? How do you get through your day-to-day business with everybody always wanting your attention?
Yes.
And it changed my life. I haven't done all 15 hacks, if you will. I've probably done about 6 or 8 of them, but just organizing my email and making sure like my calendar has become somewhat predictable for my team. They know that Thursdays are the days that my wife and I work on the business. You cannot work in the business and on the business at the same time. So we, we try to put boundaries in place to where Thursdays we are going to focus on working on the business, and the team knows that and they respect it. Wednesdays are my days that I go out and do on-site consultations. So it's easy for when you call the office and, hey, we need you. She knows that Wednesdays are my days to do that. Right? Things can be flexible, but
Right.
really having that structure and,
Yes.
and I know this is a rapid fire, but here's another thing about like early on starting a business, you feel like you have to take everything because you don't know when the next opportunity is coming, and you might do something that you wouldn't normally do, and you're thinking, it's going to be okay. And then you go outside of your wheelhouse and you kind of get stretched and you end up like losing your tail on it, right? We call that experience.
We,
But
we call that stupid tax too.
that's really good, right? But you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to learn how to say no to some things,
That's right.
and you're going to have to figure out where do you want to be, who are the clients that you want to work with, and you're going to figure that out. And when you start working with the clients that want to work with you, you know what? They have friends that have similar personality types and similar mindsets because we all hang in similar circles, and that's where the referrals come from.
Okay, so if you had to choose only one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what will that be?
Um, I wish we had more time because that seems to be the feedback that I get from the team is that they want more time in the lab. They want more time to hone in on some skills. And the challenge with that is in order to keep this machine running, right? So cash is the gas that runs the machine. We have to finish projects. If we're not
That's
doing
right.
projects, we're not making money. So you got to figure out, but we do try and carve out time for continuing education, but it's not like we can just shut everything down for 2 weeks and like you guys go to training in San Diego and come back. I wish we're going to get to that place when the teams are bigger and team A can continue working on finishing projects in the field. Team B can go do something for growth, right?
Yes,
And vice versa. We're just not there yet, but that's on that roadmap, right? And so
that's right.
we're going to get there.
Very, very cool. Okay, so before we get to the final question of the day, and of course, it has been such an engaging conversation. I'm sure you're going to get some people calling your way. And so, how can people reach out to you? Get a little bit of chuck time.
Easy. So you can go to Google. You can Google Assurance AV Solutions. You should find our website. It should pull up our Facebook page. Chat GPT even knows who we are now. We were ranked #1 in our area by Chat GPT. Kind of found that out on the whim. I was pretty excited about that. You can call the office. It's 985-231-0623. You'll probably talk to Nisha. Choose extension 1. And she will gladly take your information. And if I'm available to take your call right then and there, we'll make it happen. If not, we'll schedule a time to make it work.
Outstanding. Okay, so for the final question of the day, Chuck, what would you find that is the most inspiring for you?
Hmm. My family, you know,
We
my
do it
team
for a
would be
purpose, don't
second.
we?
Yeah. Um, so I mean, it's just being being a provider is one thing. But I'm not just, that's the thing about being a small business owner when you have employees. Like you have all this weight on your shoulders. You have all it's not just my family, it's my team's family because
Right.
they're making a living off of what they do. And like you start really thinking about that, and it's like it could be really, really heavy, but it also could be really inspiring that, look at what we get to do, right?
That's right.
And everybody here, like I really want people that join this team to feel like they're appreciated, that they have a voice. Not I gotta go to work today, stupid job. Like I can't, man, we're gonna go in there tomorrow. We're gonna hit that button. We're gonna turn it. It's gonna be awesome. Like that's the kind of people that I have. Like we start just getting like giggly, like a bunch of just I can't wait to put this in there. Like I hope they approve this part of the project because we can't a lot. We're just excited, and so that's another part of the lab. Like now that the manufacturers have found out that we're doing this thing, they're sending us stuff. Hey, play with this,
Try
right?
this out. I love
Yeah,
it.
you tell me what you think about this. So like it's really, really cool. So yeah, but it all goes back to, there is responsibilities, and that goes back to sticking to the plan, make sure you're doing the right work because stupid tax is very expensive,
Yes, it
and
is.
stupid tax can kill you, right? Can kill you. You pay enough stupid tax, you're not going to be able to recover, right? So do what you do well and focus on that, and pour into your clients, the ones that you want to build relationships with, and watch what happens.
Love it. Thank you, Joe, for joining us today and sharing all these with us. Thank you to the audience for watching
Yeah.
and sharing. You never know who you might actually inspire by having them listen to this interview. And so, again, thanks, and until next time, see you soon.
Thank you, sir.